DDG episode 85. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How is it going, Dave? E3 is over now. We just spoke 2 days ago. We're expecting more stuff to happen. We have some stuff to talk about this week. I was hoping. I mean, I signed up for a media account with the ESA and E3. So I was hoping for something to come. But we did get a Nintendo Direct that was pretty entertaining. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy. I was happy with how E3 2021 went.
Yeah.
I know the internet has other opinions.
If you're looking for a little bit more in-depth coverage on E3 2021 from the weekend, Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, go check out the episode that's previously in this feed. We go pretty in-depth on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday events of E3, June 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, right around that. And then this is going to be our weekly numbered episode, obviously, that you're listening to. We're going to cover some E3 stuff, a little bit of playing and watching, and we're going to just kind of roll from there. We had hopes and dreams of doing a little bit more E3 coverage, but I don't really think that the messaging out of E3 warrants any more episodes. But we'll dive into what we saw the last couple of days and our overall impressions of it in general. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that uploads to podcast services every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. This episode might be a couple hours later, just because of earlier in the week. But you can also watch us twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. I'm still slightly under the weather, so I apologize for that. My lungs aren't fully recovered. There are a bunch of show notes there's a bunch of notes in the show notes with links that you can reference and check. And follow us on Twitch, follow us on Twitter, social medias, Facebook groups, Discord. All of that is in our show notes below. Please check those out and leave a review if at all possible, especially this time of year. There might be a lot of people looking for news and coverage and searching hashtags. So this could be a great way for new people to grow and integrate into our community. So with that, we are going to jump into the news.
All right. The first thing, this is kind of something I put in the news just personally for me, because it's like the game. It's the game I'm the most excited about for this year. And that's Back 4 Blood. So Back 4 Blood had a presence throughout all of E3 weekend. I think they were at Summer Games Fest. They were at Xbox Bethesda Showcase. They did their own 20-minute video. But more and more details are coming out. And it looks like Turtle Rock, the developers, have learned from their past in terms of how like Evolve went, where it had a very convoluted DLC structure. And that ended up being like the downfall of that game. For Back 4 Blood, they are doing very smart moves, or at least I think are smart moves. They are going to allow people that don't have the DLC to continue to play with their friends that have the DLC. So it sounds like they're going to go with a more traditional way of delving out DLC. So they're not going to do the thing where like all the DLC's free and then rely on microtransactions. Looks like they're going to do paid maps and paid characters, but the benefit that they're allowing for the community is if you're in a party, only the host needs to have the DLC for everyone to play.
That's great.
Which is very smart thing to do.
Doesn't fracture your community. So
yeah. So you just need one of your friends to have it, and they need to be the host, and then everyone else can play the maps, the maps and whatever else that they're going to release. Mm-hmm. Love to hear it. They also said that all the DLC for like the PvP, yes, there are going to be microtransactions to purchase those, but you can also unlock all of them through character progression. It's going to be interesting to see how they balance that. That's like the one thing you would kind of have to worry about is it worth the grind for the people not to pay, or are they going to really entice people to throw money down, and what advantage that could lead to PvP? Mm-hmm. But they also said everyone's going to start off with the same pool of cards, since this game does use a card system.
I'm also okay kind of with a 50-50 system where, like, let's say that like a new DLC pack or something costs like $10 or $15, and all of a sudden I've been playing the game for like 6 weeks and I've generated roughly $7 to $9 worth of money in the game. That would prompt me to be like, well, it's only $6, or only $8 to buy. So I think that's interesting. But like you said, it'll be fascinating to see how quickly it can be earned. Because Street Fighter did something similar, Street Fighter V, and it was pretty hefty grind.
No, yeah, it definitely is a grind. That's going to be the one thing that they're going to have to show because Evolve did very poorly, partly because of how they structured the pre-order stuff and
Yeah.
DLC stuff. So with
And it just
this,
had bad
it's
betas
good that
too.
they're.
It had really bad
Oh yeah,
betas.
yeah,
So
yeah. It did really well at like gaming events at E3. It was like one of those games you had to see at E3
hmm
at PAX. But the betas weren't too good, and then just how they structured the DLC just really put a bad taste in people's mouth. So
have they
looks like
talked
they're getting
about
in front of that.
crossplay at all?
It is going to be crossplay.
Okay. I
So
couldn't remember. So and it's on Game
yeah,
Pass.
that
It's
was
like so
yeah.
that's a huge thing to help the community with crossplay. Just stay alive and find a game because that's the most frustrating part is when you're playing brand new game. You're playing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because you're off and you just can't find games. Like that's the part that
Yeah.
kind of like sucks for a lot of the people. And Game Pass on PC and console should automatically eliminate that thing because people will just mess with it because it's on their subscription.
And the good thing with this is, you mentioned that they just had really bad betas for Evolve. The alpha a couple months ago
Uh huh.
showed really good promise. They are doing another open beta in August, I believe,
Good.
and the game doesn't come out until October. So they have a really nice map, and the beta being in August means there's time for them to tweak the game come October, and they can really be the first one out right now. Especially they're gonna have a lot of competition come next year, with Redfall,
Yep.
with Extraction, or Extraction's this year, but like
Extraction will be
still, it's gonna
before it,
be
but
yeah. So they're at least getting away out of some of the competition. So it's going to be Back for Blood and Extraction going head to head, and I think this might have an advantage because Extraction has
PvP
to
will
compete
always
with
be
Siege.
higher than
Yeah,
PvE. Like people just love online games, player versus player.
yeah,
They just I'm not a huge.
yeah,
I enjoy them. I prefer PvE over PvP, but obviously there's a lot of people that play PvP.
yeah. Next story over here. I just added it to the doc, just because it kind of funny how it's being positioned right now. The Medium is coming to PS5 in September. So this was timed exclusive for Xbox. Obviously, it came back out in February,
Yeah,
I believe.
January, late January, early February.
Yeah. This was a game that me and Dave we enjoyed our time with it. Neither one of us were motivated enough to finish the game, but it was a solid enough game for that genre. Also, me and Dave aren't like the biggest people in that genre for like adventure horror games. But it definitely had an audience that enjoyed it on Xbox, so it is coming to PS5.
Yeah,
Has full DualSense control support for it, and it's going to be good. More people get to play it. Uh, I forget there was something else going on with it. Oh, it's going to get a physical release
yeah.
on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S around then, so everyone will be able to get a hold of that. No word on if it's leaving like Game Pass or anything like that around the time it comes out to PS5, but I guess we'll find out 30 days before. So
Yeah, usually they do like 2 week notice actually. So
yeah, so we'll find out there. But yeah, September 3rd, sorry. It's coming out to PS5. I was just talking to Dave before the podcast, and it's kind of hilarious how it's changed. Where when this came out, PlayStation fans were kind of shitting on like the reviews for this, and then now that it's coming to PS5, PlayStation fans are interested in it, and now Xbox fans that were really passionate about this game have lost their passion for this game, or at least in the Twitter
yeah.
discourse. But I pay a little too much attention to Twitter discourse when you
Well, I mean,
when
people
you
were
head over
talking
to the
about some
Explore
of the
tab.
performance issues it had on S and X because it only came to
Mhm.
series. Um, and everybody's like, "Oh, I wonder if it'll just run better on PlayStation 5." Well, statistically, stuff has been running better on the X than on the 5 in terms of frames, at least mostly. Obviously,
Yeah,
we can't tell a huge comparison. There hasn't been a really a true third party next gen only game to really tell what was or wasn't built for this hardware. So it'll be interesting to see if it does run better on PS5. I think it'll run the same, if not maybe
yeah, it'll
even a
probably
little
run the
worse.
same.
So
Yeah, the SSD speed is better on the PS5, so
hmm
maybe in some instances it can improve, but I don't see Digital Foundry blowing people's minds,
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh my God,
I
it's
also
exactly
didn't feel like when
going
we
to be the
talked
same."
about it and when we both played it, I didn't feel like the medium was doing anything super next gen only. So, um,
No, no, especially a game that we're going to talk about later, Ratchet and Clank. uh, the Ratchet and Clank feels like a next gen game more than the Medium did. The Medium
I
just
think we're
seemed
gonna have an
like a
interesting
solid
conversation about that
game.
then.
So that is the Medium. The last bit, which just happened, I think today, Cyberpunk 2077 is returning to the PlayStation Store on June 21st, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, June
Hmm.
21st, Cyberpunk 2077 is coming back to the PlayStation Store. Um, so Sony has agreed to reinstate the game. The funny thing is, so Polygon or The Verge reached out. Oh, actually, it was Polygon that reached out. Polygon reached out to CD Projekt Red just to understand, like, hey, is a new patch coming out? Because the game hasn't been patched since end
Early
of
May.
April,
Yeah. Yeah.
early May, and they didn't hear back. Sony confirmed the news with Polygon that yes, it's been reinstated, but they recommend not playing it on a PS4, which is crazy to me that the Sony rep said specifically this: users will continue to experience performance issues with the PS4 edition, while CD Projekt Red continues to improve stability across all platforms. Sony Interactive Entertainment recommends playing this title on a PS4 Pro or a PS5 for the best experience. So Sony is aware that the PS4 version is not fixed. It still runs bad, but it's at a state that is acceptable, I guess, to reinstate it on the store. Any thoughts specifically when it comes to Cyberpunk making its return?
I think Sony got annoyed with CD Projekt Red bothering them.
They must have, and
Yeah.
then just the
Said fine,
news
whatever.
report.
It's like like the kid, like, can I get a new mitt? Can I get a new mitt? No, you don't need a new mitt. Can I get a new mitt? Can I get a new mitt? No. And then, all right, fine, whatever. Just get away from me.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Well, especially when it comes to like CD Projekt Red going out there and being like, yeah, our financials haven't been good this year.
Right.
Our sales aren't doing what we wanted them to do, and it's because you're missing the biggest platform. Uh, I know people were kind of expecting this news because the came to PS Now, but I still think those are
Hmm.
unrelated. But it's interesting to know that it's coming. I would imagine a patch isn't too far behind.
Right.
I think they've said there were going to be like 3 performance patches coming to the game before they would start talking about DLC. I am excited for this. I own Cyberpunk on the PS4, and I stopped playing because it was just buggy even on the PS5
Yep.
and the PS4 Pro. I want to get back to it. I want to try it. The story was doing nothing for me, but maybe there's some more in there if I dug a little deeper. Though I don't think there's going to be much more to dig into with that
It
game.
sounds like a couple people in our Facebook group were talking about it too, and they've actually, as they've been patching, been removing things like less cars, less NPCs, less stuff to pull on the game. And he like said it made it feel even less dense, like less,
Yeah,
like more bland, I guess. Like it was Matt Lowe, I think, and he's like waiting. He's waiting on the PS5 official version before he does like his third character playthrough or something.
yeah, they definitely kind of hit that point where in order to get the frame rate
Yeah,
to not necessarily acceptable rates on the base
stable.
PS4, but
So
stable, they just had to remove density from a lot of things, and some textures I was seeing in some videos are kind of just like the draw distance has gotten worse, but at least
hmm.
up close, everything's a little more stable. We'll find out what happens. I know the hacking that they recently went through definitely pushed them a little further back on their patches, but we'll see where this ends up at the end of the and end of the year probably is when
Right.
we'll get to a point where it's like, okay, this is fine. But at least there's progress. I imagine
When it
Sony wouldn't have done this
when it wins the award for
without.
most patched game at the Video Game Awards, it's like.
Oh yeah, yeah. When he gets a continued service award, and uh, yeah, I would imagine Sony already has like the next patch in certification, or they were given notes on the next
Yeah.
patch before making this decision. because there would be no reason for them to be pressured into this without them like at least getting CD Projekt Red to agree to like another waiver of quality of just like, hey,
Yeah,
will the
I can't
frames
imagine how many
be
like
20?
refund requests they were getting and stuff too because of the way that
Mhm.
that like public stuff came out from CDPR.
Yeah, I'm curious. So like right now, like if you can search the game again on the PlayStation
Yeah,
Store,
which you
I don't
couldn't
think you can
before. So
purchase it. Yeah. I'm wondering if they're gonna put a warning on like, hey, we recommend a PS4 Pro, or just no fucking refunds this
right.
time if you download it.
So, but
Uh,
I mean, ultimately, it's good that it's coming back for everybody to play it, especially
yeah,
if it's something they wanted to play. Then more power to them.
yeah. And then the big thing, the last thing from E3, or what felt like the E3 closer, because I know there was some other random things. The Nintendo Direct for this E3, I guess, or the summer Direct.
Yeah, no, they called it E3
It,
Direct. So
yeah, they did not announce a new system, which everyone was saying was going to happen before E3, and then people were like, "Oh, they're saving it for E3." Nintendo does shit on their own time, and they don't care how many times it gets leaked that they have one.
right.
They have a day in their minds that they'll announce the new Switch, and they will wait till that day, no matter how much stuff leaks. So just
Yeah, I mean,
hold expectations down for
yeah.
that.
When
But there
they
was
want to
some
do
good
it,
stuff in
when
this.
they want to do it, they'll say, "Hey, we're going to do a Nintendo Direct in 2 days, and we're going to talk about the future of hardware." Like they'll just be right up front about it.
Yeah. Uh like and I think that's why a lot of people were like we didn't cover it on the show, but the last like month or so has been people being like, all right, this week there's going to be the direct that drops the new consoles, and it's mostly just because I think the people that break that news assume that Nintendo's going to bend because stuff leaked, and that's
Right.
just not how Nintendo functions.
Well, and
Like
also like
Nintendo could care less.
based on what we saw at the Direct today, they had a lot of stuff to show, and they have a lot of stuff coming this year and coming to the Switch. They don't
Hmm.
need to push like a new hardware. Like they teased Breath of the Wild 2, but they showed it, and I think that them putting 2022 release date on it means that we're probably not seeing a Switch Pro or new Switch until holiday 2022, if I had to guess at this point in time. Like maybe in the spring, like summer, like mid, like June, I guess, but they usually don't release consoles in the middle of the year. So like if like they showed a lot, they dated a lot, and even a little treehouse thing they did afterwards, they showed gameplay. Like they did what we want from a lot of companies.
Yeah. And one thing that I think people have to realize, Nintendo, like, yes, during the Wii, they may have taken advantage of shortages to sell the Wii a little bit more. I don't think they want to release a Switch that no one can buy.
Right.
They want to make sure their inventory is all set for that, and don't want this holiday to be the bloodbath it's going to be for PS5s and Series X's. They want to probably stay out of that and get their inventory to a manageable level. And
But it
also
also it
just
also
hope,
comes down to like the majority of consumers don't have Xbox Series or PS5s. We know that. I mean, because people are still complaining that they can't get one. So a lot of those people have money set aside and they're trying to get it. Like whether they're trying to curbside it or online order it or wait for stock to come in or just get lucky. They're not going to be able to drop another $300 or $400 on another system. Like they just
yeah,
bought it last year or they're buying it this year. Like people can't, the average consumer can't spend $1,000 on hardware in a 12 to 15 month period. And Nintendo knows that as well. And we've seen how many, what are they talking about? Like 7 million PS5s out there, 4 million
yeah,
Xboxes. Like that's a lot of customers that probably don't have the cash to do another Switch, that when you're already looking at Series Xbox Series and PS5 and going, did we really need it right now?
yeah.
So
Well, and also just like the cost, like you mentioned, the cost, like the cost you have to put aside for a PS5 and a Series X. The Switch lives in its own little bubble to where like there are people that yes they would buy whichever one's available, but there'll be people that if they buy the Switch and then the PS5s become readily available
right,
the following week, they're not going to go out and buy the PS5. They're going to hold on to that PS5 money they put aside for a PS5. They might drop down for a Series X, but realistically, they're not even going to drop down even further for whatever the Switch Pro is. They're going to
especially
hold on to that money for a
especially
next
in
gen
the in the
console.
in the first year when the only company that's really going to be taking advantage of the new Switch hardware is going to be Nintendo, which is probably only going to be like 2 games.
Yeah, which would be
Zelda
Breath of the
and
Wild
Pokemon or
enhanced.
something. So like
Mhm. Yeah, like you're talking about like two different markets. Yes, as PlayStation and Series X people are going to want to switch, but if they're trying to get a Series X or a PS5, that is their priority over dropping $300 for a Switch, which, to be fair, is just going to be an underpowered,
it's going to be more
next
than
gen system.
it has to be more than $300 though, because the current one's $300.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
So
going to probably replace
four
that
hundred
one, or it's going to be
dollars.
$400. Yeah. All right, let's get into the direct. 38-minute direct. No need to go through everything that was in this direct, but there were some good notable things. My game of the show, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, is coming to Switch.
Makes me
It's going to
feel a
be
little better about how it's been presented.
yeah. This is the cloud version of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is something uh, Square Enix, Capcom have been doing on the Switch, where you're streaming the game. You're paying full price for it, but you're streaming it. It actually works pretty well um, on the Switch. That is an actual
Hmm.
reasonable way to play games. So Guardians is coming. Then we also had um, new fighter for God. They have so many
Yeah, that
fighters now.
roster's so big.
It's kind of crazy. Kazua is sorry, I mispronounced that. Sorry, I'm not the biggest Tekken guy. Tekken character coming over to Smash Brothers, which is pretty funny because like Bandai Namco's have been developing Smash Brothers this entire time. And I believe Tekken is franchises there, so they're finally getting one of their characters in it, or another character of theirs in this game, which is nice. We got a little bit more of Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope in there.
The biggest thing I got from that is it looks like the turn base is changing a little bit, or you can kind of just go wherever you want on the map.
Yeah, so yeah, we got like basically a little bit more. Even though they didn't spend a lot of time with it,
No,
we at least got to see a
I
little
think
bit more
Ubisoft
of the type of game.
kind of has control of that to an extent. Nintendo gets to.
Yeah,
I think Nintendo will get to show the date whenever they date it, but I think it's like Nintendo is allowing Ubisoft, and Ubisoft has done a good job with it. So
yeah, they definitely have. I think they've earned like Nintendo's respect to be like, all right, just do what you want with this,
mhm.
but
And obviously
we
it
get
sold well
to
enough
say the
that they
release
let them
date.
do a second game. So
Yeah. Surprisingly, we're getting a Wario game, which looks fun. Wario is just like mini or macro games, I believe they're called.
that doesn't look
It,
like a $50 game. I'm sorry.
oh no, it's not. But
That's
that's
how much it
Nintendo
costs.
tax.
So-
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. Uh, but it's always a fun franchise, or it's always been a fun series of games. It's funny though because they announced Nintendo Garage a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago, and everyone just assumed that would be the replacement
Mhm.
for WarioWare, and then they announced a WarioWare game, which is just hilarious how that just works out. This Nintendo kind of being Nintendo. Um, Mario Party Superstars is coming out. I was really hoping this would be an expansion to current Mario Party, which just added online play. But Mario Party Superstars is a collection of 100 mini games from previous Mario Party games. Uh, that's a really cool idea, and it's going to have online out of the box as opposed to being patched several
Mhm.
years later. And that's coming out October 29th. So Nintendo did this a couple times in this where they're just like, hey, here's something we're revealing today for the first time,
Yep.
and also it's coming out this year.
There's a lot of like
Uh,
3DS kind of stuff that's been on 3DS for a while that they're bringing to the Switch, and not necessarily
yeah,
like a port to the Switch, but their version of it to the Switch, and it's coming in the next 3-4 months.
yeah. Super Monkey Ball, Ball Banana Mania. This is 300 recreated levels because it's the 20th anniversary of Super Monkey Ball, which has always been a franchise. I love the Super Monkey Ball franchise, but honestly, I probably owned just two of the games in the franchise, but it's one of those ones that I always enjoy. This is also coming out this year, October 5th, which is just them just, hey, here's it a Switch exclusive, and it's coming out like
Yeah.
in a couple months. Something I was super excited about, Danganronpa Decadence. This is a collection of the first three Danganronpa games and a new game called Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp. This is basically fan favorite characters from the Danganronpa franchise playing like an extended version of the board game that was featured in the third game. So this collection is 4 games, though you can buy each one of the games separately on the eShop. Really cool looking special edition with like posters,
Yeah.
lithograph cards, steelbook coming out for that. So I'm super excited by that.
And you can buy the games
Uh,
separately.
yeah, buying them separately on the eShop's going to be fantastic just
Yep.
because I'm hoping they price them reasonably. This isn't Nintendo proper releasing it, so there's a chance it'll be priced reasonable. It's still NIS, I believe. So that's coming
What's your
later this year.
reasonable price for it though? Like $40?
For each game?
No, I mean for the collection. Like, is the collection a $60 collection?
I think because
It's
you're
4
adding
games,
that.
right?
Yeah, I think $60 for the 4 games. But individually, I'm hoping the games are at like $20 each.
Okay.
And then I would have to see like
What they're doing to them. Yeah.
yeah, especially Summer Camp, because like Danganronpa 1 and 2, those are Vita games.
Hmm.
So and those were $40 or $30 Vita games. So I'm
Right.
expecting it just to be those Vita games on the Switch because the Switch is basically the grown-up Vita, I guess, or the Vita people played. Uh, Other things, they showed a little bit of Skyward Sword HD, which I forgot was coming
Yeah.
out next month. When they said, "Oh, coming out next month," and I was just like, "Did I know I must have missed the announcement?"
No,
But
it came in that last Nintendo Direct that
yeah,
when they showed the Joy-Cons and everything, they dated it. But they haven't really done any talking about it since. It's kind of one of those things where I feel like they're just throwing it there because they don't have much for Zelda's anniversary. As we can see later that they don't have much for Zelda's anniversary.
the Game and Watch stuff was pretty cool. We could just jump to that.
I think it's an interesting concept, but I don't have any desire to pick it up, and I love Zelda.
Yeah, it's the first 3 Zelda games on the Game and Watch thing that they released a Game and Watch last year, I believe. So just a little portable handheld thing. It retails for $50. That's one of those things that like
Oh, is that how much? It's only $50? Okay, maybe.
yeah, it's only $50, so it's not too bad of a thing. It's actually reasonably priced for Nintendo if that's the exact price. I'm using Bleeding Cool's rundown of this as I hop around to stuff that
Yeah.
I thought was noteworthy. That's one of those things you get as a gift for someone that's a Zelda fan, if you get a hold of it. All right, let's talk about what I think is the biggest thing in the show, but I know what the actual big thing for people it was. Metroid Dread. So, Metroid Prime 4 is still being worked on. It is not canceled. They're still working on it. They have nothing to show for it. But they announced a new 2D Metroid game called Metroid Dread. This looks pretty fucking cool. Or at least I thought it looks
No,
really
it does.
cool.
I love 2D. You guys know I love 2D side-scrolling games. I grew up on Metroid, and this is. I'm not a huge fan of the Prime franchise. My 3D scale for shooters has evolved tremendously in the last 5 to 6 years, obviously. But I probably should go back and check out some of the Metroid stuff, but I don't even think it's on the Switch at this point in time. So I'm not 100% for certain on that, but this is Cyber Shadow, this is Messenger, this is all these games that have been coming out for years. Like, this is the first 2D side-scrolling Metroid game we've gotten in 19 years. 19 years. Like, and he's moving. Is moving fast, and it looks great.
Yeah, it looks really good. At one point, like the camera like switched like perspectives in the trailer. It just looks fantastic, and it's coming out this year. Like it's gonna be out October 8th. October is like Nintendo's month. But I honestly I like the Prime games, but I wasn't really excited for Prime 4. just because when I think of the Prime games, they just I don't know. I feel like they probably have aged poorly, even though it's been a long time since I played them. But seeing this one, I was really excited for. I think this is like the best thing that we saw at the Nintendo Direct, because everything else was like it was pretty exciting stuff, but it was like, hey, here's a lot of old games. Here's Doom Eternal DLC. Here's Strange Brigade. Here's Fatal Frame. Here's Worms Rumble. It's like stuff that was like pretty basic. Like the Danganronpa was the thing I was excited for before this, and those games are now several years old. For at least the first two.
Hmm.
Metroid Dread, though I do laugh at the name because like Metroid feels like that franchise that Nintendo is like annoyed that they still have to support.
Yeah, but watch it
So
be like the October NPD #1 game. Watch.
it's gonna be.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna
Like,
be, and Nintendo is gonna
and I don't
be
want to hear
reminded
anything about
again.
some Nintendo bump bull crap. Like, this is Metroid. Like, you got
Yeah,
people that are 40, 45, 50, 55 years old that are going to see a commercial for this and they're going to go buy a Switch because they haven't had that game in 20 years. Like, it's going to happen. Just like it did with Animal
yeah,
Crossing. So you find out all these people that the pandemic didn't hurt it obviously, but there was people that were talking about Animal Crossing and talking about getting their hands on a Switch that I don't think picked up a controller since they were in high school and they're my age because they needed
yeah,
something to do and they forgot how much they enjoyed playing games. And a game like Metroid is going to reinvigorate an older audience as well as introduce a younger audience to games that kick your ass.
yeah. No, and this is, but it always feels like Metroid is that franchise that Nintendo would prefer to forget, but it's gonna make them a shit ton of money, and
Yeah.
I could see them almost being annoyed of like, God, we're gonna have to make sure Prime 4 comes out because people really want
Hmm.
Metroid games after this. Uh, this will be super successful. It looks really good. I don't really know who's developing it. I'm sure I could find that out with a few clicks on Google, but
But
they've been
I
really
don't
good at
really care who's
partnering.
developing it. It looks great. Like,
Oh no, no, for sure. But they've been pretty good at like partnering with third party studios to work on their franchises. So I have faith in that this will be like a like a competent,
hmm.
decent to great Metroid game. They announced a special edition for it too, which
Oh,
looks really
really?
nice. I Yeah, it's a with like a steel book, and it's got like a art book that
Hmm.
comes with it and some stuff. So that could be something that I could see myself pre-ordering as I've been getting into collector's editions lately. And then, of course, they ended the show with a look at Breath of the Wild, and it is going to launch in 2022. Um, they will probably do their own event probably later this year because it is like the 30th anniversary of Zelda, but they only had like a brief teaser. I'm not the biggest Zelda fan, so I'll let Dave talk about
Um,
if anything
they didn't
looked
really
cool in this or
they didn't show much. I got more info from
yeah.
people afterwards, like breaking stuff down what they saw. There's speculation of underground levels, on ground levels, and in the air levels. Obviously, in the air was shown in the trailer. It's not uncommon for Zelda to take the game to the sky. It's something that they've done previously, but there's speculation of playing as Ganon, different timelines, playing as Zelda, and playing as Link as well, depending on where you are in the whether you're in the air, on the ground, or in the dungeons. And speculation of like maybe playing as Zelda in the dungeons, playing Ganon on the ground level, and playing Link in the skies. But that's just nobody really. That's just people like freezing the trailers and circling a small corner of it and going, look, this is why I think this. Um,
Why is his arm that way?
right. So I mean, I'm glad they gave us a year. I don't think it's coming in 2022. Zelda games have always been delayed, but what they showed looks just more Breath of the Wild. I haven't completed it, various reasons. Just I haven't focused on it. But it doesn't mean it's not good, bad, or indifferent. I really enjoyed it. I just got to get back into it. But as a second one, anytime there's new Zelda stuff coming, it's always great for the game. It's great for Nintendo. It's great for gaming. So,
Mhm. But that was Nintendo's press conference. That was E3 basically because other developers did some basic stuff, but it wasn't anything major. I was really happy with what Nintendo did, and I'm also really happy with how E3 went this year. I know a lot of people are negative about like, oh, not enough gameplay was shown, or like there wasn't too many surprises, but I said this on Twitter. After going a year without having anything like E3, I was just happy to have
Hmm.
something this year. And I came away with like a list, especially at the Nintendo press conference, of a ton of games that are coming out this year that I'm excited to play. Uh,
This is where
I
some
miss
of the,
Sony.
yeah, obviously, but this is where everybody goes, oh, E3's dead. It wouldn't be dead because you and I would be talking about us playing Guardians of the Galaxy because we would have
Yeah,
played it,
exactly.
or it would have
Yeah,
been a playable to the public, or there would have been some other cool games that we would have had a chance to get some hands on and to check out an indie game, or having
all
the
the
opportunity.
Devolver stuff.
Yeah, like just to see some of those things and to talk about it and to give you guys like either a brief write up, a YouTube video, a conversation about why we liked it. Like it doesn't do it any justice just to see a trailer. Like people you trust or people you go to that have been going to E3 or getting their hands on the game. Like I can almost guarantee like we would have been able to play Rainbow Six Extraction. I would have been able to talk to you about
Yeah,
how it felt. I would have been able to play Far Cry, even if it would only been like a 10-minute demo. Like I would have
yeah.
played it, or Michael would
I
have
would
played
have
it.
based
Yeah.
on yeah, we would have played Guardians.
Yep.
We would have played every Devolver game because
Yep.
we always play every Devolver
Yeah.
game. There would have been so many things that we would have played and other people would have played because like even though me and Dave try to cover a bunch of stuff at E3, the best part is when we run into like Chandler
Mm-hmm.
or someone else and we're like, hey, what did you guys play? And they tell us something we didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that was missed this year, and I think that's why like I watched the Gorilla Collective, I watched the Wholesome thing, but there was just so many things in there, and because I didn't get to play it, nothing really grabbed my attention.
Right.
Because this, I think the indie games suffer the most
Mm-hmm.
during like
Those are all the
the
half hour things we have. Michael's schedule used to be filled with that previously with PS Nation, where you look at his schedule and it'd be like 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30, and he's like, "Oh, I'm running the indie gamut." Like, and Michael loved it, and
yeah,
and he would talk for 45 minutes on 5 games that he enjoyed playing, and then they would come out and he'd talk about them later, and
yeah,
that's not happening, and that will not go away. Like,
yeah.
and I maybe it'll go away from an E3 standpoint, but I would love to see, I don't even know, like an indie showcase in Denver or like a PAX, like that, indie
Yeah.
PAX or something in Denver or Seattle or I don't even know, Texas, wherever.
Bit
And
Bash in Chicago.
yeah, and
There hasn't been to a Bit Bash in like 2 years
yep.
because the pandemic.
And that stuff is like there's going to be some games that fall through the cracks, or hopefully you guys listen to listen to us on a regular basis, and that's Michael's bread and butter, like those. But the unfortunate part is that we're not getting in front of those people. We're not seeing them. We're not saying, hey, I played it, I liked it. Oh, cool. So in 3 months when the game comes out, the developer's like, hey, that Michael guy really liked that game. I got to make sure I send it to him now. Because so. And
So,
that it had nothing to do with PS Nation. It had to do with Michael's relationship that he had with the developer because he actually showed interest and cared about the game. All of his interviews that he used to do, like that, all sparks interest, and that's the kind of stuff that he used to love to stream. And that's the stuff that's not getting the attention it deserves without. It's not getting the attention it deserves with the pandemic going on, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, like I believe Tunic was in the Summer Games Fest. It's
There's a demo
top-down.
for it on Xbox.
Yeah, there's a demo for it. I played that 3 years ago at Bit
Yeah.
Bash and talked to people behind that game, and I think I played that at like in E3, that weird indie round
Yeah,
building
Indiecade
thing
or
that
whatever.
we
Yeah.
did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where we were just like in this round room and there was just demos all over the place. But yeah, that stuff suffers without an E3. But I was still happy with that everyone was able to put on press conferences. Yeah, the Capcom press conference really only was like an advertisement for
But they
games
would
coming
have
out
been
in a
on
couple
Sony's
weeks.
stage, or they would have been on Xbox's stage.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then their Xbox is like, we don't really, do your own thing. Like and that's kind of what they didn't have any presence. Like I feel like that Capcom stuff they should have. I don't know what Keeley said or didn't say to them, but that would have been a great get for Keeling. It would have, instead of like
Yeah,
Capcom
yeah.
trying to do their own thing. But these companies are trying, and then I guess we'll see what they learn or what they don't learn or how they adjust or they don't adjust. We didn't even talk about it, but that Coach Media thing was terrible.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I don't like people were really mean to the Coach
Yeah.
Media thing, but they tried their best. They clearly just didn't have anything to show. But Coach Media is one of those companies that me and Dave, if we know it or not, have had several meetings with
Yeah.
Coach Media
Yeah.
because they always have something. And sometimes we'll play a game from Coach Media that's like, oh, this isn't out for like 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
like, and you can't do that on a live stream.
Right.
You can only show something horribly early if you're in person with someone and then you have a developer explain like, hey, so like we're gonna fix this, this, and this. This is not
Mm-hmm.
final, and you have that context. They you're gonna miss so many things. You're only gonna see the most polished product,
Yeah,
basically,
we
when
can
you're
play and
doing
then
one of these.
and then see the potential and see what they're trying to get towards, but they can't show it. You know,
Yeah,
like
because then that's all people are gonna remember.
right,
You know, it's
and that sucks.
it's
That
gonna
sucks for the
be
developers.
yeah. But overall, I'm happy with everyone showed because I understand the context of like they're only going to show us stuff that's near final because they can't have a bad first impression because there's no context that they could put around it once it's out there. But I think Ubisoft did an okay job or a
Mm-hmm.
good job. I think Summer Games Fest was good. I think Xbox was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo Direct was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone did, okay to good based on the circumstances of pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
ESA seeming like they kind of just threw this together like very haphazardly. But I'm happy with it, and like I understand people wanted more gameplay, people may have wanted more surprises, but you can't always get that, especially under these circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and like I think the only thing I missed is Sony,
Yeah,
doing something. But I can see PlayStation doing another thing probably in like a month or
July.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe by TGS because TGS will have a digital event.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably hear from some Japanese studios with some exclusives for that. But overall, pretty happy with how things turned out the last like 2 days
Yeah.
or last weekend.
All right. So what we're playing and watching. Mine is obviously I've still been recovering from bronchitis sinus infection that I had. So I've been kind of lounging around. I am on vacation this week, so that did allow me to start and complete, as of recording this episode, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I completed it
Nice.
just before we started recording. It's good. It's good. It's Ratchet and Clank, and I'm enjoying it. And this is where I think we're gonna have an interesting conversation and I know like there's a couple people in chat too. Like I don't know how I feel how it being next gen. Like
Yeah.
It looks
What do
great. The colors are great. The enemies on the screen are great. The Rift mechanic is not as cool as they were presenting it to be.
Yeah, so I think my save file says like 20%,
Okay.
21%, just because I worked
Yeah,
most
my
of the weekend,
completion,
so
just for the record, my completion is like 68, 69%
Yeah.
right now. I did not delve deep into like arena content. And I there's a couple like side things that you can just like kind of randomly stumble upon that I didn't realize that I was or wasn't doing. So if they naturally happen, I did them, but I didn't really seek anything out.
I think of the PS5 exclusives that we've gotten so far, we're talking Astrobot, Demon Souls, Returnal, Miles. I think Ratchet and Clank is hands down the best looking of them all.
I would agree with that.
Um,
But I
so
think that this
in-
game could have run on PS4.
No, I don't. I think enough of the stuff
Other
with
than the load times,
rifts-
man. Like the load times were great.
Yeah.
Like going from planet to planet was great. The rifts happened in cutscenes. Like they might have been more of a challenge, but the
it might have
in-game
been too much of a challenge.
yeah, the in-game rift mechanic was a little disappointing to me because all you're doing is moving from one side of the screen to the other.
Yeah, I think that's enough to where that's why I've been on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you in the trailers. It seemed like you had a little bit more control over that.
Or
which-
you were
which
going somewhere
don't.
completely different, not just to the other side of the arena that you're already fighting in.
Yeah, there were some instances where they moved you, but then you were in that section until
Yeah.
they moved you again.
Yeah.
So I will agree with that. But I think from a visual standpoint, what visual mode did you put it on?
Just
I put it on.
Default, I think I did 30 frames. So
You did 30 frames. So I have found out I can't do 30 frames if a 60 frames option is available because I can't stop myself from looking at the 60 frames.
Oh,
So they did-
I thought like I just played it and then I realized that there was a mode and I went to check it and I was like, all right, whatever, it's already here. So I might
when they
do
put
another
me in
playthrough and I
that
might
instant-
change it to 60, but it didn't make me do it before I played. So I just whatever was defaulted, I just did it.
Yeah, so like when you're starting your file, you can scroll down to it
Oh,
or just
okay.
hit start. You
Yeah.
probably just hit start.
I did. I just wanted to play it. I mean,
Yeah.
but I was fine. I did it like whatever difficulty wise, I was right in the middle. Like there's like 2 above it and
Yeah.
two below it. So I was like right in the middle. I enjoyed it. Like don't get me wrong, it's great. I love the fact that it was like 12 hours, maybe like 13 hours. Like to be honest, I was beelining it. I had a great time with it, start to finish. Played it, enjoyed it. Boss battle at the end, a little basic, but.
We'll go in depth about the game.
The story is
soon.
really good. The second half of the story is really, really good. I don't want to sound negative about it, but I mean, keep your expectations in check. It's a really good game. It's a great game, but I don't feel like Rivet is that much different than Ratchet. So it's not. It doesn't really feel that different. So it's almost like a shared cooperative character. And it's not. It's just. Maybe I'm just being too critical of it. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I think the story was really good. It just didn't feel super next gen to me. And Rivet didn't feel that much different than Ratchet to me.
See, me overall, like only 20% into it. I think it feels next gen. When looking at all the first party output, it made me realize that like Sony has done a really good job of having like a diverse lineup of games within the first, what are we now, like 8 months in?
8 months, yeah.
Yeah, to where, if you think about it, it's like Miles Morales, Astrobot, Sackboy Adventure, Demon Souls, Returnal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Ratchet.
talking about Demon Souls, Returnal, and Ratchet are the only 3 that you can play on PS5.
And Astrobot.
Yeah, Astrobot's yeah. So those 4, of those 4, Ratchet's the best.
Ratchet is the best. I think it has done the thing that like a lot of games try and do, where it's like the transition from the cutscene to the gameplay.
Phenomenal.
Like amazing. The closest we've gotten to where it's like you can only barely tell that there's a difference between gameplay and cutscene.
They did the only reason I could really tell is because they did a lot of like cutscene and then your character's just standing there versus like Uncharted would do cutscene transition to like, oh wait, I'm in control. Like
you walk into it and then as the character's walking, it transitions to that.
Yeah.
But I'm just really impressed with how it is right now, and it's been a long time since I played a Ratchet game. I haven't played
same. I mean,
last 3 Ratchet games probably.
Well, even if you have, it's been the most. The remake and then All for One. Like the remake was a while ago. And that was. I mean, I'm not demeaning it, but it was a remake.
I haven't played any PS3 Ratchets. Last Ratchet I played was PS2. So for me, I'm just like, this is what I always wanted Ratchet to be.
It's really good. It's definitely worth the $70. Like it's got a solid beginning, middle, and end. It's got some great gameplay. It's got over the top weapons. Really great voice acting and storytelling. Like it's a Sony game. It's there. It's a top tier. But it wasn't pulling on the like. Okay, like I didn't have any moments in the game where I'm like, oh, like I can't do this on a PS4. That's all. Like I mean. Yeah,
I do say like again only 20% into the game. But after playing Miles and this and then Spider-Man Remastered, I think Insomniac is definitely gunning for number 1. At Naughty Dog, and I love that there's like
if they want to continue to make games every 6 to 9 months that are 12 hours long, like I'm down. Like let's go.
Especially the lengthwise. Like
if you want to keep doing Miles and Ratchet stories, like if you want to do a Rivet story, like a 6 to 9 hour story, like let's go. Like I don't even care if it's the same planets. Just tell me give me more of her story. Like
and the $70 price, I don't give a shit.
Like it looked really great. Good. It was fun to play. The weapon wheel, switching weapons, shooting stuff, moving stuff, dodging. Like I was having a good time.
Also, I love that there's the performance ray tracing mode. That's the mode I'm playing it on, so it's mostly.
I'll probably mess around. Like I was looking at some trophies. The full disclosure, I played it on Michael and I share an account. Michael gets the privilege of using his own PSN account.
No, you can too now.
Oh, really?
I believe.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so on PS5, it's a little weird. Like I was like wondering about
mine
that.
Still have locks on them, so.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
so
weird.
It's fine.
Okay.
Anyway, but Michael and I share a PSN account. I don't want to be like that guy on Twitter that gets called out for his trophy score or his achievement score or something like that when somebody looks it up.
My trophies are so messed up because I sometimes use the shared account and not realize it, or I've used Sarah's account and not realize it.
I have some people that will message me like, "Hey man, I haven't seen you online in a couple of days. Is everything okay?" And which is great. I love the fact that you guys are worried about me. That's fantastic. But like as an example, I've been playing on the other account and I don't appear under my own account, and I played and completed Ratchet and Clank. So
Like I keep my trophies hidden, but since I just kind of stopped caring about trophies,
Yeah.
I sometimes just click the first name that's in my
Yeah, yeah,
system,
yeah.
and sometimes that's Sarah's account, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
And
I
I
just
mean,
beat all
trophies
of.
are what they are, but a lot of people are going to be like, "Hey, like you've been talking about Ratchet, and you haven't even started it." Okay, well, I'm giving you guys disclosure before I get like my feet to the fire, get like a witch trial or something.
Oh, that's why I put all my shit private, just because I've had that happen a couple times with the last outlet where
Yeah,
people are like, you didn't 100% the trophies. Can you really review it? And it's just
yeah.
like, I beat the story. Fuck off.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really all I've been playing.
Same, same.
So
Like
I
I don't really
watched
have
like
a.
I've been watching a little, just like the NBA playoffs are pretty interesting right now. I've been watching some of the games near the end. And then I watched it was on Paramount Plus, and we have Paramount Plus, which is like the old CBS app that we pay for that, mostly for like NCIS and some of the CBS shows that we watch. But there's a movie called Infinite on there that's a Paramount Plus only movie. It's a Wahlberg movie. Mark Wahlberg, and it was okay. It kind of gave me like a kind of a Wanted vibe to it. If you guys remember the movie Wanted,
Yeah, yeah.
nothing like
Curving bullets.
spectacular, nothing great. Some pretty cool action scenes, interesting story. I don't feel well, obviously, and I'm on vacation, so I'm just kind of like watching whatever. Because I don't really have any motivation to like invest in anything crazy. I did watch Loki. I thought that was really good.
That it was really. It
Yeah.
had that like not as good as Wanda's first episode,
Hmm.
but it had that like personality and charm that Wanda had in its first episode that
Yep.
I don't think Falcon and Winter Soldier had its first episode.
I agree. So I'm still watching Big Shot, even though Michael doesn't like the show. I'm still going to keep watching it. It's almost over.
Enjoy
So.
your John Stamos show.
And that's really been it for playing and watching. I haven't really found anything else. It's getting near summer, obviously, so a couple of these shows are kind of like winding down. Some stuff that we've been watching, we found out got canceled. So it's like, I've gone back again to Superman and Lois on CW. You can watch it for free on the CW app. It's taken a little while, but it's actually pretty good now. Like I was like, they've done some interesting things with the story and the dynamic and the character building. And it's really good. And I'm enjoying it. There's still that delicate balance of it's a Superman show, but it's also about Lois and the kids. And it's getting a little bit better each episode. It took like 8 episodes. I'm like, okay, now I want to know what happens next. Like,
Yeah.
but that's been pretty much it for playing and watching for me.
Yeah, so for me it's been just Ratchet and Clank. I had like 2 people quit at work, so
Yeah.
I've been having to change my schedule around, which is why we're recording Tuesday night instead of Tuesday afternoon. So just Ratchet and Clank, and occasionally messing with Knockout City because that's still a really good game to just do
Hmm.
20-minute rounds or 20-minute sessions and get in. So focusing on that, I did get like a cool Switch accessory for review today, which I wasn't really expecting, but it just kind of came in. It's called it's like the fixture FIXTUR gaming carrying case, and it's just a carrying case for the Switch, but it comes with this bracket thing that you put on the Switch if you take the Joy-Cons off, and then it has another bracket under it to put the Pro controller. So it's made for the Pro controller and
I've
the
seen
Switch.
some of these advertisement things where it's a controller mount essentially, right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
controller mount and a controller switch, and I figured that'd be something cool because a lot of the things that dictate what I'd play on my Switch is whether I have to use the Joy-Cons or not. And if I have to use the Joy-Cons, there's only very few games that I will just play Joy-Cons. So this allows me to play the Switch
Well,
on the
plus,
go a little
like
bit more.
from a traveling standpoint, the little bit that I've had with the Switch in a car, depending on the road that you're on, if you get a little bit too much vibration, sometimes the Joy-Cons will disconnect.
Yeah, they're very sensitive.
Yeah.
It seems pretty solid. I have to find a way to test the case without breaking the case, just because the case could. Doesn't it feels
Just
solid?
put the
but I don't
Switch in the
know-
case, zip it up, and let your cats play with it. See what happens.
Oh, they already sat on it because it's pretty big because it holds the Pro controller,
Oh,
the
nice.
Switch itself,
That's cool.
and the bracket, so
Oh,
it can
okay.
hold all in the same case. So I'm gonna be testing that for the next like week or two,
Awesome.
just because I seemed like a cool thing to review, and I'm interested in using my Pro controller, which I bought like probably 6 months ago, and
Yeah.
I used it once.
Yeah.
So give me an opportunity to do that. So I'll probably play more Switch games.
Yeah,
than I
mine
did,
my
like,
Pro controller got the most use from Immortals. Obviously, Ubisoft sent it to me because they wanted me to play Immortals with it. But seeing the like I said, Owen has it's Owen's, but I can play it obviously if I want to. Owen has that Mario Rabbids game. So I might actually like bring the Switch downstairs and try to see if I can stream some of that stuff because Stars of Hope comes out sometime next year. I don't really think I've done too much stuff in the Mario Rabbids world, but it might be something nice to mess with during the summer, and stream it a little bit.
yeah, I bought like a second Switch dock, but I bought like the Insignia branded one, and that one
Yeah,
works pretty
I need to
well.
look at that. So
It was like $30, I think,
yeah.
and it actually wasn't too bad. And it works just as well. And then so that's it for playing, and then watching. I've just been watching really bad movies for the podcast I'm doing. For every movie ever. I just watched the Smurfs movie, and we had like an hour discussion on the first Smurfs
Jeez.
movie.
Wow.
Uh, and before that, we watched something that
I'm gonna put it out there right now. I don't want to be a guest on that show because whatever you assign to me would probably be terrible.
Oh God! So like so for every movie ever, we randomly roll the movies. That's
Yeah.
like the whole gimmick with it.
Isn't there like a Netflix roulette app or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real good, I think, but it's
Okay.
REEL.
Yeah.
It rolled something called Super Monsters Forever Friends, which is like an hour Netflix kids movie, like animated thing, and then it rolled the Smurfs movie. So me and my friend had to watch both movies back to back, and we had like a 2 hour discussion on both movies. So I've been torturing myself a lot. I also recently watched Hometown Holiday, which is like a Hallmark romantic comedy that was awful.
Oh, again, I'm sorry. Like I don't need you talking about terrible movies. Sometimes reminded me of this. I watched. It's not that it was terrible. Raya, the Last Dragon, on Disney
Oh, how was
Plus.
that? How was
It was good.
that?
It was kind of just your
Okay.
classic Disney movie, but it was definitely
Is
going
it
into.
already on
It's
Plus or is
it's
it
on
Premiere?
it's past the Premiere thingy, so you don't have to pay for
Okay,
it.
okay.
It's part of your Plus subscription now. It's past the 90 days or whatever. Um, I'll put it this way: like I'm happy that we didn't pay $30 to watch it, but I'm happy that it's on Disney Plus. Like I think it's a really good movie, and like Owen came into the room like I've seen this, and I'm like, all right, well, good for you, go away. like,
Well, then you can go to bed.
yeah,
And then he's like,
I enjoyed it. I like I know that like Disney's been getting some bad PR about like how they handled Milan and stuff like that, but I liked how they handled the culture of what was going on in the show in this movie in terms of the world being fractured and you know obviously the feel good story of things being put back in place. Again, I'm sorry, I'm really terrible with names, but the voice actor of the female dragon who was in Crazy Rich Asians,
Yeah, and Star Wars.
and yeah, she did a great job. So
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I have to watch. I'm gonna have to have that debate when Black Widow comes to Disney Plus.
Is it
whether
coming
I
to Disney
do
Plus? I thought it was coming to. I mean, maybe I missed that. Did they say it's going to do the premiere stuff?
premiere in theaters.
Yeah,
So at
okay.
the same time, it'll be premiere in
Yeah,
theaters.
because I
And
know we're going. My daughter's already been talking about it. She was trying to buy tickets the other day to Fast 9. So
Yeah,
I want to
I
go
just-
to the theater. I told her, I go, look, I want to go to the theater. I go, I am not going to the theater Thursday or Friday night. I was like, that is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
happening. We can go on like a Saturday morning or a Sunday afternoon or, you know, like maybe one of my random Tuesdays off that she has that she's home. I go, but I am not going to the theater on an opening night. Like, and I wouldn't like to do that if the pandemic wasn't going on, for the record. So,
people in Chicago are acting up again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm quite ready to go to a theater yet. So I'm.
it's
probably
just like
gonna
we're
end up
going to
paying
the theater for
$30.
Black Widow. That's fine. I go, we're not going to the theater opening night. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't
Yeah.
do opening night.
And
with people
again,
acting up.
I wouldn't do it 3 years ago either. I just don't like to be like in. I
used to same.
full movie theaters don't bother me, but I don't like this whole like I gotta wait in line to buy my ticket. I get irritated like very quickly. Especially for something that I don't think there should be lines. Like I have the same problem with traffic. Like traffic, logistically in my mind doesn't make sense to me, and I'm like, just drive, please. And then these people waiting in line or taking their time to get to their seats, or it's just ugh.
No, I used to be I need to see the Marvel movie opening night, and then I went from like I need to see the Marvel movie opening weekend, and
Yeah.
now I'm just like I'll see the Marvel movie within the first 2 weeks, and I'll be okay. And now with Premiere, I'm just gonna pay the $30
Yeah.
and just watch it at home, have good food instead of paying $20.
Yeah, maybe
for a
we'll
thing
do
of
that. I
popcorn.
mean, we've got a great TV, but I mean, Angela seems to be pretty stuck on going to the theaters, so we'll see. The amount of if
Uh,
me, my daughter, and my wife go to the theater to watch this movie, that's as much as it would cost me to get it on Plus, and I get it for 30 days.
yeah. That's it for me for playing and watching. Just Ratchet and Clank and the Smurfs movie.
Yeah.
That
All right.
was my weekend.
Sorry. Questions and comments you can send to us using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can post them in the Discord. You can post them on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. Michael put some posts up there asking for some questions. You don't have to wait for that. If you come up with a question, you can just ask. So Lebetsky, more likely to come out this year, Halo Infinite or Horizon Zero Dawn? You go first.
Halo Infinite. All of Halo Infinite? I don't know. But Halo Infinite will come out.
It's Halo.
I think both of them will come. I think both of them are coming out this year, but if you tell me one's going to slip into next year, it's Horizon.
I think that I agree with you. But I also think that Sony might be looking at what's happened over the last 2 or 3 days and going, you know what? February looks really good.
There's a lot of stuff coming out. Because I feel like Horizon would be a perfect September game.
Yeah.
But if it was a September game, I think we could have the date already.
Yeah. I mean, unless maybe they do something at the end of this month and they say September 20th and they give you like the 60-day notice. But I mean,
October's packed.
Yeah, October's packed. Early November is what it is, and then you get into the holidays.
They can squeeze maybe like the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But that would be the latest I would see it.
Yeah. But I still think that if like February looks good. Like and they always had success in their mid-February, early March games. They've always been successful. So like everything kind of calms down, and but Halo's coming. Like Halo, like they need Halo out in November just for Game Pass subscriptions.
Yeah,
like it has to happen.
The way Halo and a multiplayer is being separated, I wouldn't be surprised if one comes out before the other, even though they keep reiterating that.
Or they're gonna seasonalize the campaign, and they're gonna release the campaign in like 3 month chunks. They're gonna release, I don't even know how many hours it would be, but the first 5 or 6 hours in November, and then release more of it later.
Like we'll have the epilogue.
Yeah,
in reality,
Halo Infinite Episode 1.
Yeah.
I could see that, but I don't know. Like the multiplayer is gonna, and then kudos to them as well. I know you guys don't like me talking positive about Xbox, but they came out and said that the seasonal content that's going to be in Halo, you can buy later. So like if you don't play for like 2 seasons and you see something you want, you can go back and buy that season pass and earn stuff on it. Like that's a cool system. Like
that's something I hope more companies do.
Why punish somebody because if they're willing to pay the $10 or $12 and they just didn't play for the first 1 or 2 seasons, but then they're like, hey, I'm really enjoying this 3rd season and I want to go back and earn some of that stuff that's mostly cosmetic anyways. Let me pay for it.
They don't do that because they want to recycle the seasons later and make it an annual event.
Well, maybe Halo's not doing that then.
Yeah, no, they're not. But that's what a lot of games do, where they're like, yeah, this is actually an annual event, not a season. You're just like, you sons of bitches.
I mean, in Destiny doesn't do that, and I haven't seen them release any of the previous ornaments. Like the cosmetic stuff you earn, I haven't seen them release those yet. They've released some of the previous loot, or they've given you new ways to get the guns that they came out like 2 or 3 seasons ago, but they've never had a way to go back and get those cosmetics that I can recall.
Then he asked about Death Stranding. I'll read this since there's Death Stranding director's cut. Thoughts on the trailer? Just Kojima being Kojima, or is there more to it? I think it's just Kojima being Kojima. Do you think there's a realistic chance that he's like actually working on a Metal Gear, that Sony made the deal?
No.
To let him do it? I don't think so either. I don't think Konami was going to give it up. I think he knows
if there's something going on with Metal Gear, anybody that signs a contract with Konami or that convinces Konami to let them like work on that IP, I guarantee you it's in the contract that he can't touch it.
That's what I would imagine too, because they have bad blood. I would imagine Konami's like, unless you give them an ungodly amount of money, but at that point, it's not going to be the return on investment the company would want.
Right.
Because I don't think Metal Gear is popular, but it's not like I
don't think he wants to work on it anymore either.
No, I think he wants to just do his own thing. I think that's why he was trying to do PT, and that's why he ended up going to do Death Stranding, is he just wants to do something different.
And I think that he wants to do something different now, and that's why he's having a hard time finding somebody to publish his game, because they're scared because of what happened with Death Stranding.
Yeah, I think his next game is going to end up being with. Do you think it's going to be with Sony or Xbox? Because there's rumors that he was
I think it'll
negotiating
be.
with
I
Xbox.
think it's going to be with Xbox because, sorry, if Sony was going to let him do anything, I feel like
They would
they
have
would
announced
want him to be I almost feel like they'd want a sequel or something to continue through Death Stranding because they would want to build on the brand, um, in hope that, hey, like, there's been enough talk about this in general. Let's go forward with it, because now you run through the same problem that I had with Death Stranding from the beginning of, like, what the hell is it? And now you're going to do another Kojima game, another partnership with him, and people going, what the hell is that? Like,
And also, Sony's announcing deals early. Like they
yeah.
announced the deviation game thing like 2 days ago. This
Hmm.
randomly Herman Hulst like tweeted like, "Oh, we're doing another
Well, it was
exclusive deal."
also when
I
they
think,
relieved they actually talked about their game at the Summer Game Fest, I think,
yeah, but
and then the
like,
blog post came out. So
yeah, but I think Sony would have announced, "Hey, our next game is, or Kojima's next game is coming here." I
hmm,
think they would have already done it just because they're competing with the Bethesda news or like
yeah,
all the stuff that Xbox has going on. I
I
think they would have
honestly
already
feel like
announced it.
Sony doesn't really have any counter punches right now, because otherwise they'd be throwing them, like, even in blog posts, like they would be
Yeah,
doing something.
their counter punches aren't far enough in development for
Yeah.
them to be full counter
I mean,
punches.
I'll give
They're
Microsoft credit, man. Like, I've seen some crazy advertisements this week. Obviously, I've been watching a ton of gaming stuff, so it's like all front and center. But I didn't realize it. But they got six releases in 6 months coming up. Like, kudos to them.
Yeah, no,
Like,
yeah, and
and they're all
but like
coming to Game
Sony,
Pass.
yeah, Sony could have a killer next year,
Yeah. Oh
for
yeah,
an event
absolutely.
because
Like
they have all these
February, March
partnerships.
to their 2022. Like, they could do the same thing. They could probably do like 9 games in 9 months at the rate
Yeah,
that this is going. They just need to
they
start.
just don't have
They don't
that
have it
announcement
ready yet.
now.
They don't have
Yeah,
they're making the gunpowder. It's not in the bullet yet. So,
there's a chance next year we're gonna be like, oh, Microsoft burned through all of
yeah,
their
uh-huh.
big hitters
Well,
and don't
but I mean,
have
at the same
anything.
time, people are giving them crap, and they've got another longer event tomorrow, like a interview
A
thing.
catch-up show, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like some of
Uh,
that stuff that people are missing out on. Fabled and Avowed might be at least discussed.
yeah,
Hellblade 2 might be discussed, but it's really interesting just to see right now. And, like, if I had to recap, and it's kind of teabagging on the question here a little bit, if I had to recap the kind of what this E3 meant to me, is like, and I don't know how many people are boxing fans or not, but this E3 was Floyd Mayweather. It's just a lot of dinking and dodging and jabbing. Like, there was
yeah, yeah,
no haymakers, no big knockout blows, just a bunch of, like, okay, jab, 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 and next thing you know, it's like you've gotten hit with so many things that you're done. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
lost and you're knocked out. But there's no Mike Tyson first round shot in the face. Like, and that's
yeah.
fine. Like, this E3 was overall like a 7.5 or an 8. Just a lot of games I think that are going to be really good games.
It was that E3 that reminds you, like, you know what? The game industry's fine.
Yeah.
There's gonna be stuff to play this year. There's gonna be stuff to play early next
There was
year.
no holy crap moment. There was no game. I don't feel like there was really any game of the show. There was like, oh, like there was no, like, I got to stand up. I'm watching a trailer or cheer and clap. Like there was nothing that I felt like I got any of that stuff. Or I was super excited about any of that. But there was a lot of, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's great. Oh, it's got a date.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Guardians,
Yeah.
it was my game of the show, but it was more relief that it didn't go the Avengers
Yeah.
path.
So I mean,
Like,
and
it was like,
that's
okay.
fine. Like, and that's completely fine. That's what this E3 was like. And then maybe next year, like, whether E3 does or doesn't happen, Summer Gaming Fest, maybe there'll be something cool. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's just where we are. Next question, Stefan writes, I watched the Devolver Showcase and loved how they did it. Not just some people speaking monotone to a camera and a couple of trailers, but a full-blown piss take on the gaming industry. What were your thoughts? It's Devolver being Devolver.
They're so good at it. I don't know who's their writer, but the writing is good. The actors are really good
Hmm.
because they throw a lot of shit for the writers to be able
Yeah.
to like monologue out. Uh, and the games look good too. Like I
Hmm.
almost feel like Devolver sometimes they overshadow the games that they're
Hmm.
announcing, but all the games that they show have a certain style and swagger that I feel like is absent from most of the trailers that we
Hmm.
see in other companies. So like Devolver put a good show together. I love the Devolver cinematic universe,
Hmm.
the Rio DCU, and I just I hope they do this forever. I hope they actually did sell the VHS tape.
To one
Apparently, they
person.
did
Yeah,
make
like
one, and
yeah.
they did
It's
sell
like
it to
a
one
grand. I
person
think my wife
for
told me.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
crazy.
that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it was great. I laugh at it. It's funny. It's like a continuing story now. I look forward to like what other ridiculousness that they're gonna do, and then I'm like, oh yeah, there's games here too. So
Yeah, yeah. And all the trailers look super stylish, though I couldn't tell you what half of them are, like game
that
wise.
Temple
And
Run
that's
game looks really cool. That looks really
Mhm.
fascinating. And they
Yeah.
showed some other stuff that that looked really interesting. Um,
But
so
like we talked about earlier, those would be the games that me and you would have played at an
yeah,
E3, and then we would have been able to be like, this is what this game
Michael would have been like,
is.
I had a beer, a hot dog, and I played 4 games, and they were great.
Yeah.
So,
And I smell like weed now.
yeah.
Because a lot of times you end up smelling like weed leaving those trailers.
Yeah. Our last question of the night from Chris. I'm guessing it's too late, but I really want a remake of Kingdom Hearts Union X as a games as a service multiplayer game. I don't even know what this game is.
Okay. So Kingdom Hearts Union X is the mobile game that's been on mobile platforms for a couple years now. This is the most controversial thing in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Because the way Kingdom Hearts 3 ended, you needed to fucking play the Union X games. And that was an ongoing game with story stuff. I would absolutely love just a Kingdom Hearts Union X movie, kind of like how they did some of the games in the collections, where it's like, hey, this isn't playable, but here are all the cutscenes prettied up so you can get the lore and story from them. Union X would do fantastic in that. I don't know how you would transition the gameplay to make it like playable on consoles,
Hmm.
but I think if they can redo some of the cutscenes or story moments into either like an interactive comic or like something to watch, I think that would be great because that was so frustrating. Like luckily Sarah keeps track of the Union Cross storyline because there is characters introduced at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm like, who the fuck is that? And why are they so important? Why are they monologuing right now? And it's like, oh, that person's important in Union Cross. You have to know this, this, and this. Uh, so yes, Union Cross as a games as a service multiplayer game could be interesting. I would rather just get the cutscenes animated and get more of a movie vibe for it, as opposed to doing a games as a service, which basically what the mobile game was, anyways.
Right. All right. So that's our show for this week. Thank you guys so much. Regular show actually. I mean, a regular length for the numbered episode. A little bit of a nice end or E3 recap. Spotlights is obviously our Patreon, patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, where if you enjoyed the content that you heard and you want to support us financially, you can do so. There's multiple tiers that you can do that with. Dollar tier is just essentially pays for 1 month of podcast servicing. 3 months gets you access to the Discord private channel. $5 gets you the episode 24 hours early on a private RSS feed, and $7 gets you a bonus monthly episode. We owe you an episode for May still, and I think that we're going to do some Ratchet and Clank talk as soon as Michael catches up, which is kind of ironic and the first time I think in DDG's history that I'm waiting for Michael.
I know, yeah. I'll have it finished in a couple days.
Yeah,
As soon as we're done here, I'm playing.
No, you're good. I'm just messing with you. I was like,
Yeah, no.
but
It was weird. I was not expecting that.
yeah. I full disclosure, I haven't worked since it came out, so that's
Yeah.
So we'll do some Ratchet and Clank stuff. Our Patreon subscribers will get that a little early as well, maybe like 48 hours early, and then we'll have it on the feed. So if you want to check that out after you completed the game, please do so. That should be in the next 7 days,
Yeah, probably.
something like that.
Probably recorded this weekend.
Yeah. So, and then we'll get a little bit of catch up on some Patreon stuff. If you have topics or questions or things that you would like to check out, please let us know. Also, if you would like to see, just regular listeners, if you would like to see an episode or not see, if you want to hear an episode from the Patreon, like send us a comment, post in the Facebook group, send us a tweet. If you want to maybe get a sneak peek into some of the content that we put on Patreon, let us know. And maybe we'll release an episode on the feed to give you guys an idea of what kind of what you're getting from the Patreon content, and maybe it might entice you to think about subscribing. And as always, we're looking for any kind of feedback on our Patreon. If you think it's too much, if it's not enough, there's not enough return on investment. You just don't do Patreon, that's fine. But it's just something that Michael and I, when we launched DDG, we were passionate about giving you guys multiple ways of supporting us, and that is a way, as well as Twitch subscriptions and PayPal donations directly if you want to. We just wanted to make sure that you guys had ways of showing support. Many of you have done that already, and you guys are great. And if you can't do it, then don't do it. And listening to the show is the number one way to help us grow. Sharing it is also a huge help. So anything that you can do, retweets, sharing on Facebook, telling a friend, holding your phone out while you're listening to it with our logo on it, just walking around the mall, like whatever. Any of those things kind of just help the show grow. But you can also follow us on social media, Twitter at Digital Days Pod. Michael's is at the first MJC, 1ST. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Links to the Facebook group and the Discord server are in the show notes. And I think that's all I got. You got anything, Michael?
No, just be on the lookout for some Ratchet and Clank spoiler cast in the future, and then next week we'll hopefully have other games to talk about. But it'll probably be Ratchet and Clank, at least for me. That's my focus.
Got some more. I got to dig into Biomutant a little bit more, and I got to try some Mass Effect stuff. Dig into some Mass Effect. So I might do some more streaming for you guys this week as well. So come hang out there. So all right. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
I'll be a dick. See ya.